Right, welcome back, and let's take a look at the local dailies, and we start off with the Daily Nation today. The Russian mercenaries, a big story on the front page. So they say this is an unmasking. Festus Arasa Omwamba has teetered between notoriety and anonymity. He had engineered the ouster of a senator, battled fraud charges, and is now wanted for sending Kenyans to fight for Russia. So apparently this story unearths the individual behind Kenyans going to Russia to fight in the Russian-Ukraine war. This is the first time we're seeing this. So Kenyan authorities have issued a stop order against the suspect, but he's already in Russia. His name is Festus Arasa Omwamba. So the number of Kenyans who are suspected or believed to be fighting in Russia numbers 1,000. So the Kenyans are lured to join the Russian military with a signing bonus of about 1.2 million shillings, which is quite handsome by any Kenyan standards. But some have paid with their lives. Mikhail Lyapin is another individual who's Russian, is a Russian national, and is Arasa's friend, who was deported last year on suspicion of running a rogue job syndicate. This is something that has been going on for a while now, and you can read more on this on page 2 of this paper. Some politics on the front page of this newspaper as well, and this will form part of our discussions. Sifuna open to alliance with United Opposition. Nairobi Senator Edwin Sifuna has said his ODM faction will explore a coalition with like-minded leaders to craft a formidable machine against President William Ruto's re-election. The ODM Secretary General assured his group will not divide the opposition bloc. This is the very first time we're hearing this reassurance, because even part of the question we're asking today is whether or not whatever Sifuna is saying, that whatever Sifuna is saying is actually the plan for the entire third force, or it is something that is yet to be decided. So that story, you can read it on page 4. Other quick highlights on the front page: grabbers target State House land, not necessarily the State House in Nairobi, but other state lodges elsewhere. So that's the Daily Nation this morning. Let's take a look at the inside pages of this paper. And yes, there's a story about border borders and the dreaded border gangs on page 3. One of the victims, latest victims, is Jimmy Gate, the artist, who had to be admitted at a hospital along Kiambu Road after being attacked by thugs around Runda. You can imagine, Runda and border borders. Yeah, so that story is on page 3. And inside pages, a lot more stories, but on the back, a story on page 8, now that they're talking about state lodges. Apparently, President William Ruto has already moved back into the main building of State House. Quietly so. You know, he's been operating at the State Pavilion within State House grounds for the past 2 years or so. And now apparently he's been holding, and this paper has established that since February 20th, which was sometime last week, that he's now back at the main building, which was undergoing renovations. And so you will see a lot more of the president from the main building, as well as a pavilion, which I think Kenyans are now getting used to. Those are the main stories on the back page of the Daily Nation. Still plans for the WLC Safari Rally, the shake-up. CEO ousted, weeks to start. They're only 2 weeks away from the World Rally Championships that are coming to Kenya. But then 2 weeks before that, the WRC Kenya CEO has been ousted. What does that mean for the competition? Meanwhile, a lot of people are already planning for this. So for lovers of motorsport, something to look forward to. Back page of the Daily Nation.
All right. Taifa Leo still talks about Sifuna. Lengo ni Wantam, quote unquote. Katibu mkuu wa Orange Democratic Movement, ODM, that is Edwin Sifuna, amefichua kuwa wakati wake ndani ya chama hicho kikubwa cha upinzani unakaribia kuisha, huku akielezea uwezekano wa kujiunga na muungano wa upinzani. Kauli hiyo inaashiria kuwa mjadala wa Wantam unaoendelezwa na vuguvugu la Linda Mwananchi na muungano wa upinzani umepangwa kufanikisha azma ya kumshinda Rais William Ruto katika uchaguzi mkuu wa mwaka ujao. Habari kamili iko katika ukurasa wa pili. Anasema kwamba seneta wa Nairobi adokeza uwezekano wa kushirikiana na muungano wa upinzani kuelekea kura za mwaka 2027. Ananukuliwa hapa, anasema tunahitaji kuonyesha kwa nguvu kwamba hatutavumilia utawala wa William Ruto na yote anayosimamia. That's the main story on the front page of Taifa Leo this morning, na vidokezo zaidi: Murang'a, Nakuru juu kwa ajira. Hii ni ripoti ya Kenya Vision ya mwaka 2030 ambayo imesema kwamba kaunti 5 zinaongoza kwa kuboresha huduma, Murang'a na Nakuru wakiwa kule juu zaidi. Baada ya ukame kuna hofu ya mafuriko. Kaunti ya Tana River yataka maandalizi ya mapema kuepuka athari za mafuriko. Kwa sasa kuna ukame katika kaunti hiyo. Habari nyingine katika ukurasa wa 8 wa gazeti hili ni Rais Kiir afuta tena waziri wa fedha tena. Rais wa Sudan Kusini amtimua waziri wa fedha Bakchol kwenye mabadiliko ya mawaziri. Na kule juu habari hiyo ambayo pia iko katika ukurasa wa mbele wa Daily Nation ya The Russian Machinery. Mamluki wa Russia sasa anikwa. Anaitwa Festus Arasa, daiwa kupeleka Wakenya vitani kule Ukraine. Gazeti la Taifa Leo.
Right, from Taifa Leo, let's go to The Standard. I have a big question on the front page of The Standard. Whose goons, they ask? Interior PS Raymond Omolo is cast as a polished technocrat with a philanthropic touch, but in Nyanza, a darker narrative is taking hold. As rival camps prepare for bruising political battles ahead of the general election, allegations are mounting that state-backed empowerment networks have morphed into engines of intimidation, with goons shadowing rallies, disrupting meetings, and operating in full glare of the police. Supporters hail decisive leadership. Critics see a dangerous fusion of power, patronage, and fear that could tip a volatile region into chaos. Now, this is a use of goons in political contests, but the question people are asking, and I think this is the biggest question, who is controlling these goons and who has allowed them to actually operate without any deterrent? On one hand, the Ministry of Interior, led by the CS Murkomen and his PS Raymond Omolo, accused the opposition of being behind this, including carrying military-grade weapons to their meetings. On the other hand, the opposition says their goons were infiltrating their meetings, using borders and causing havoc. So who's saying what? Whose goons, people are asking, and that's a big question on the front page of The Standard this morning. It will form part of our discussions today because issues around elections and security are a big discussion. Other quick highlights that would be of interest to you, dear Kenyan. One is on page 2. Tomorrow we do anticipate the rollout of the new anti-HIV jab. It kicks off tomorrow here in Kenya. So experts are explaining what happens with this new medication. It's an injectable prevention drug that has no major side effects and will roll out in phases beginning tomorrow. So that's a good story there. Another very interesting story, IBC wameambiwa ile pesa walikuwa wanaitisha 64 billion shillings, hiyo ni pesa mingi mnaleta mchezo. That actually included about 1.5 billion shillings because they want to buy land to build an office. Tunawaambia, why should you buy land? The government has a lot of land. Why do you need to buy land? Yet you're a government entity. You're an independent body provided for by the Constitution. And the other one, page 5, State is eyeing a fresh airport deal with Adani. Unakumbuka Adani? Adani anarudi. Ako hapo page 5. On the back page, Matters Sports, Mourinho, the unwelcome guest at Madrid's home. Matters UEFA Champions League. Benfica manager Jose Mourinho. Actually, last week they were in trouble after one of the players was accused of racist remarks during a game against one of the players from, is it Real Madrid or PSG? And now, today, Real Madrid will be hosting Benfica at their stadium. Remember, Jose Mourinho has been at the Santiago Bernabeu as manager before, so now they say he is unwelcome. But interesting. The other story, PSG star Hakimi faces trial for alleged rape, is another story on the back page of The Standard. That's The Standard today.
People Daily. Has the Orange Party run out of political juice? Is a story captured on page 4, and there are two caps here. One cap, of course, is party leader Oburu Odinga, and the other part is the SG, Edwin Sifuna. They're trying to squeeze this juice. Like the People Daily is asking, has the Orange Party run out of political juice from cornerstone to cornered? It's a story on page 4. Tell us what you think. Inside the intense power struggle among Gusii leaders, the united alternative opposition is in Kisii, Gusii land. They call it Search for Elusive Unity among Gusii leaders. Inside the intense power, among Gusii leaders, a story captured on page 3 of the People Daily. County Watch, why Mombasa is still waiting for its ship to dock, is another story on page 12 of this newspaper, and that's the People Daily.
All right, from the People Daily, let's take a look at the Star. The Star talks about Bomas of Kenya, something that has been forgotten for a while now. There was a revamp. So Bomas revamp turns center to Premier Summit Tourism Hub. There's a big story there. It's situated on 79 acres. Did you know that? The property is actually 79 acres big. It will host 11,000 delegates at one go and boost tourism. So that could be the next conference center away from the KICC, which actually brings a lot of problems in town. And they've put actually pictures of that simulation of how the Bomas Conference Center will look. State of the art, they call it, Bomas International Conference Center, BICC. Yeah? Tumezoea KICC, itakuwa BICC. Under construction in Nairobi. Artistic impression of the complex is also there on the front page of this paper. There's been quite some controversy on how this deal was agreed on. The one for revamping the Bomas of Kenya. Where did the money come from? What is the interest of some senior officials in this? But yes, the construction is still on, and the expected capacity is 11,000 delegates. Other stories on the front page: Murang'a, Nakuru and Kiambu are leading counties in jobs and digital services ranking. We've had that from a different paper as well. That story is on page 8. Balance and inclusion pipe dream as ethnic bastions exposed in new Public Service Commission report. Yeah, so the Public Service Commission has been historically accused of being biased when it comes to employment into the ranks and file of the civil service. It's the same thing, and we see this over yearly. Annually, we get this report that says about 2 or 3 communities are dominating employment positions in the civil service. Nothing new there, but it's just another report. Pale juu on the front page of this paper, and they give an account of an individual who's fighting in the Russian war and says, "Pray for me, Mom." Those are the last words of Kenyan's son from Russian frontline. This story about Kenyans fighting in Russia doesn't seem to go away. The Daily Nation has gone even deeper to unearth the person allegedly behind the recruitment of Kenyans to fight in Russia. And now this one gives a personal experience of a Kenyan fighting in the Ukraine war. And the final words that he said to his mother. And after that, he's not been heard of again. Sifuna signals grand alliance with Rigathi and Kalonzo to beat Ruto. I think on the front page of the Taifa Leo anasema ati amesema ni Wantam. Ati ni Wantam.
Lengo ni Wantam.
Lengo ni Wantam. So is this a declaration that they're joining the united opposition or not? The question we'll be asking today is whether or not Sifuna and his grouping, the Linda Mwananchi grouping, are able to form a proper third force, or are they going to dilute the effects of either the broad-based arrangement or the united opposition? But this one throws a spanner in the works. Definitely we'll be looking at that later on. That's the Star newspaper. Fresh, independent, different. Grab yourself a copy for only 60 bob here in Kenya.
All right. Finally, let's take a look at the Business Daily now. Uganda gets veto powers over hiring of KPC boss. It says Kampala gets juicy deals in revised shareholder pact. It had threatened to pull out 106 billion shillings IPO. Now, Kenya has given Uganda the right to veto future hiring and firing of the KPC CEO as part of an agreement reached last week for Kampala to buy a 20 billion shilling stake and save the firm's initial public offering, that is the IPO. Kampala will also approve future issuance of fresh shares in KPC in a move aimed at preventing dilution of its ownership in the company. It says Kenya gave the concessions, including 2 board seats in the firm, after the neighboring country threatened to walk away from the KPC IPO because of a lack of authority in the running of the firm. Very interesting story on page 2 there. NTSA adds 1,000 shillings traffic NTSA adds 1,000 traffic cameras amid instant fines push. And it says that more than 1,000 new smart cameras are to go live on Kenyan roads to catch drivers performing illegal maneuvers under a private-public partnership aimed at curbing speeding and ease execution of instant fines. Now, the network will comprise 700 fixed cameras to be mounted at strategic locations along major highways and high-risk corridors, and 300 mobile units targeting speeding and accident-prone zones, that is speeding hotspots. It's very, very interesting here. I'm trying to see if the offences have been listed here, but this story is on page 2 as well. This is a project approved last December by Cabinet and is structured as 21-year PPP deal with KCB Bank Kenya and Pesa Print. That's the Business Daily this morning. Let's cross over and take a look at regional dailies now.
Let's start off in Uganda, and the Daily Monitor has LC's one secret vote. This is Uganda's delayed local council elections. In Uganda, they're still in electioneering mood after the main general elections in mid-January. Now they're still into the local councils. So LC1, LC2 and women council polls have been announced for March. That's the next month. But village chairpersons are urging the Electoral Commission to disband lining up behind candidates in Eto Mulolongo. They still have that Mulolongo system in Uganda. And adopt secret ballot voting to ensure fairness, reduce intimidation and safeguard voter choice. It speaks a lot about the level of democracy in Uganda. That Mulolongo system, I think, was last used in Kenya. I think in 87 or 1988. Most of our viewers probably... Okay, let me not go there. Anyway, Makerere week-long graduation kicks off. Makerere is such a big university that they need a week to carry out graduations. Ni wengi. Week-long graduations. So those are the main stories on the front page of the Daily Monitor.
It's the same story on the front page of the New Vision. LC1, LC2 poll sets for March, and government earmarks 57 billion shillings for the exercise. Let's cross over now to Tanzania. Mwananchi, dawa ya kuzuia VVU sasa rasmi. Anasema kwamba ni sindano ya lenacapavir ambayo imesajiliwa nchini kudhibiti na kuzuia maambukizi ya VVU kutumika pia kama mbadala wa ARV. Wadau waeleza furaha yao, serikali yasisitiza tahadhari bado muhimu. That's the main story on the front page of gazeti la Mwananchi. The same story is also making headlines in Uganda. That drug, lenacapavir, also, they're receiving their first batch today. We received our first batch on 17th of February this month, but there's a newspaper that has highlighted that rollout starts
tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yes.
Yes.
It is the same story on the front page of the Citizen, meaning that this is perhaps the biggest story across the region. If we were to take a headline for the East African region, it will be this drug, HIV drug. Hope as Tanzania approves HIV prevention and treatment drug. So this is a common story across the entire East Africa. Health practitioners in Tanzania are optimistic after the official registration of lenacapavir, a long-acting injectable drug for HIV prevention and treatment, a move seen as a major step forward in the fight against HIV, against the virus. This one is in Uganda, it's in Tanzania, it is also in Kenya. Big story. Other stories here, Samia vows stronger modern military. Na pale Rais Samia, I think this is a very interesting photo, holding a weapon. This is the first time I've seen her holding a weapon. Very interesting. That's a Citizen in Tanzania. Let's take a look at the caricature this morning. Cartoonist wanasema nini?